Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Comic Book Nostalgia. I'm CB Nostalgia, and we have our second episode of Moon Knight. So let's dig into a review. The second episode of Marvel Studios' Moon Knight is now live on Disney+, and we got a whole bunch of new details and some interesting first looks at characters such as Mr. Knight and Layla. Let's take a couple minutes to talk about the episode, what we found out this week, and don't forget, there will be spoilers, so if you haven't seen it yet, make sure you get over to Disney Plus and check it out. Now before we do that though, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button and ring the bell for all the updates. Also, the big giveaway. We're going to give away this Oculus Quest 2 at 50,000 subscribers. All you need to do to get in on our giveaway is be a subscriber and leave us a comment. Also, while you're at it, make sure you check out that free Week of Skillshare down below. It's a pretty cool way for you to develop your superhero skills for that never-ending war on crime, all while not diving too deep into your pockets. Also, it really does help the channel, so we really appreciate it. Well, we are into the second episode of Moon Knight, entitled Summon the Suit, which ends up being a big part of this week's plot. Now again, we're going to talk some spoilers here, so be careful. If you haven't seen the episode, I do recommend you go check it out. I don't want to ruin your experience. Now, I have to say, I had a pretty good time, and the action in this episode, as well as suit time, is significantly improved from the first one. Now, the episode actually pretty much picks up with Oscar Issacs' Stephen Grant waking up after the fiasco at the museum at the end of the first episode. And quite honestly, things don't go very well. He's actually fired from his job, and when you watch the security footage, it really does make you start to question whether this is fully in his head. We know the character has mental health issues, and it does make you wonder if all of it is fictitious and just happening to him. The magical nature of the whole story does explain what's going on, but it really does cause Stephen to question who he is and what's going on. Now, the episode does give us our first appearance of May Kalamaz's Layla. Now, during the episode, Stephen eventually stumbles into a storage unit that's filled with weapons and money and passports for Marc Spector. And this is when they first encounter each other. But we don't learn a whole bunch about her initially. She was a voice on the phone. But we do know she's Marc's wife and doesn't have any idea who Stephen is, and even makes fun of his voice. Now we do get a lot this week about Arthur Harrow and his motivations. After he kidnaps Stephen and takes him to his commune, we find out his ultimate goal is to resurrect the demoness Ammit. And clearly, her intentions are near genocide. Now, on the surface, they plan to eliminate anybody with any ill will in their heart. But guess what? That's anybody who's never done anything wrong or will never do anything wrong. That list is going to be pretty short. Ethan Hawke's Harrow still does continue to take over the scenes, too. His charisma on screen is pretty awesome, and I do really like the reimagining of this villain and what they're doing with him. Also, him summoning a demon into the real world was pretty awesome. I love how his magic worked in this episode. Now, probably the most interesting part of this week, and might actually make some comic fans not so happy, is the first appearance of the Mr. Knight suit. If you're unfamiliar with that, that's the three-piece white suit with matching glove and face mask that's used in the comics as a, we'll call it, friendlier persona of the Fist of Konshu. Now, unfortunately, there's a bit of a different take in the series. This is Stephen Grant's version of the suit instead of Marc Spector's. It does still make him friendlier, but it is not quite the same as we all know from the books, and quite honestly, it does stumble a little bit in this regard. Now, the struggle between Stephen and Marc continues this week, and we actually get a little bit of an advancement where Stephen realizes he is trapped in the body with Marc, and they're able to communicate back and forth. Apparently, this is not something that had happened before, but, it is a little frustrating. There's been no acknowledgement of the actual dissociative identity disorder in the show. It's still very unclear to me whether Stephen's persona was created when Konshu took on Marc, if it was always there, or how any of this came to be. It is pretty clear Marc Spector has been guiding Stephen's life. We know that when he leaves the house, he's able to reproduce all of the things that Stephen seems to be doing to keep himself in bed, so Marc honestly has to know what's going on, and is the only one so far that seems to have the full perspective of what Konshu wants. Now the episode closes out with Marc waking up in Egypt, where he was last seen as a mercenary, and presumably this is where the deal with Konshu was made after his death. I'm pretty sure we're going to get more of these details in upcoming episodes, but it was an abrupt change of scenery. Unfortunately, a lot of questions about Marc Spector have not been answered so far, and with the series only running 6 episodes, I'm really curious if we're ever going to get there at all. His pre-Konshu life, the deal with the god, the history of his mental disorder, amongst many other things, are a lot of details to cram in the remaining 4 episodes. Now, I don't think the series is going to be an absolute origin story for all the Fist of Konshu. You know, there's been many people that did hold the title, but I do hope they lay out a little more detail on this front, because people who are not fans of the comic might be confused. Now, the action in this episode was pretty cool, and every time I see Marc in the full Moon Knight costume, even the Mr. Knight suit, I have to say it looks great. The scenes are intense, and although not as bloody as other shows, at least the Netflix shows, the action scenes are pretty thrilling, and the horror aspects, especially in the summoned creatures, really work. Now, I did like this episode, and I'm going to give it again a 7.5 out of 10. There was a little room for improvement and some spots drug a little bit, but Moon Knight is one of my favorite characters and it's hard to be down on the series. What happens next, we'll have to wait and see. But I gotta know what you guys think. What did you think of the 2nd episode of Moon Knight entitled Summon the Suit? And how did you feel about some of the changes made to the Mr. Knight persona? I have to give the series some time to work itself out, but quite honestly, I did find them a little disappointing. Sound off in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure you hit like, press subscribe, and if you don't ring that bell, you're not getting any updates. Peace.